I've been going through break files.
It's recording.
Steve had talked.
Yeah, we're all set.
Steve had talked about a covered area.
Yeah. Well, it's. Came up again. This is of last month. This is the packet from the meeting you missed last month. That's yours. I know.
I'm glad I wasn't there.
So you're all set, Laurel, you say? Okay. Well, I'll call this meeting to order, the Veronica Valley Park Committee. Roll call.
Mr. Behrens,
I'm here.
Mr. Walter,
Here.
Mr. Popa,
Here.
Mr. Christensen.
He's excused
We have
in another meeting. I see no public comment.
Are we not doing the pledge?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, let's forego the pledge. We'll be doing that soon enough around the corner here. No. Anything else for the agenda? Additions?
Okay by me?
Do you want to talk about this?
We will get, that'll come up as we get into even the parking lot discussion, yeah. Okay, first of all, update on the pond management situation.
Do you want
Oh, we got to vote on it. Yeah, we got to vote on it. I'm sorry. Do I hear a motion to approve the agenda?
So,
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Now, I have not spoken with Seven Lake Services. I have spoken at length with Heather Hedinger, the DNR fisheries biologist. First of all, with Seven Lake Services, we approved in our last meeting recommending to the full commission that we approve a contract proposal from them. It was dated January 20th for their standard pond maintenance. Based on my conversation with Heather, I think we should hold on that, not make that recommendation to the full commission next week for their March meeting. Because
We're meeting.
Today. We're meeting today.
yeah, okay. Yeah, I skipped that meeting, yes,
You don't want to do it until April?
until April.
Okay.
Because Heather expressed, I would say, a preference for us to consider. She's concerned about losing all of the weeds the way we did before. Now, if one of us stands there and tells Seven spray here, but don't spray over here, and goes through all the ponds with them, we can manage that way. But we know we can also treat with pellets, hand distributed pellets. Scott's a licensed applicator, and simply that Heather has expressed, I think, more support. It was clear from her conversation for that kind of approach rather than too much spraying in any case. So I just think we can move slow yet on. Seven doesn't look for that contract return until April 15th. So we have this month to see whether what kind of communication I have with Lake Leelanau Lake Association. It's not that their preference matters, but I want to stay in touch as both of us make decisions. But in any case, The update with Savin is, I just think we can go slow right at the moment. Deal with that for February, or April. It does come back to our being very clear as a Parks Commission what it is we want to do with the ponds. I mean, what's our management ongoing goal? And John Popa, you once said in this discussion, we aren't trying to manage a first-class fishery. So we need to be clear about what it is we're trying to do with the ponds. I think as we consider whether to, well, make the expenditure, I think we can get by with some weed management that's a whole lot less expensive than the pond management contract, which is $2,325, I think, $2,300.
2,300.
Yeah. Heather will be, she's on deck for our April 5th full Parks and Rec meeting with her presentation on the fish stocking plan, et cetera, for this year. She will be attending remotely.
Help me on the April 15th. That's not the date of our April meeting, is it?
No, the date of the April meeting is the 5th. This proposed contract from Savin Lake Services has for it to be returned no later than April 15th.
Right.
And
So what do you plan on telling the board this afternoon? That you're gonna take a hold on this?
that we had passed this, that we as a committee were ready to pass on to them a recommendation that we recommend to the full county commission. They approve a contract with Savin Lake Services, and that I want to go slow on that. I think we should go more slowly.
They're gonna ask you what does slow,
Well, meaning putting it off until the April meeting at this point. No, maybe I don't have to say anything. I hadn't really cleared that in my head.
you don't. You could just say, okay, with regards to pond weeds, we looked over this thing and, we still have some questions about it. I have nothing further to say.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's gonna bore everybody that's in here. They're
Yeah.
gonna ask you all kinds of questions. So are we waiting something from Heather on how to go about doing this? Or
Well, waiting to,
do we want something from them that they're gonna put pellets just where this stuff is? Because last time we sprayed it, we killed everything.
yeah. And I see the solution to that being simply because Heather and I had both had conversations with Savin about spot treating, but I think we left it up to them to pick the spots, and they didn't.
With spray?
Yeah.
Well, why not just hit the spots?
Well, they didn't. I mean, we want to be, all I'm saying is we want to be careful on that this time. Now, they do pellet work, they do, but my only thought about, and I was hoping Scott would be here. He has referenced that he's a licensed applicator and that he has no problem getting the right chemical in pellet form. Scott. That we could do it ourselves.
Spray or pellets?
Pellets. Now, this is only coming from this conversation with Heather, but what it means for today's meeting is I don't think we want yet to pass on our recommendation to the full Parks and Rec Commission that approving this contract. Because I think we want to hold on that.
I understand.
And then
I added Scott into the picture, which makes sense. In our meeting in another hour, I just wouldn't say anything, since we're still looking at this. And just leave it at that.
Yeah. But I've been pushing us along because of the application for permits. I still don't know if we go about doing this ourselves, me rowing the boat and Scott spreading pellets, whatever. What are the permit requirements? And I don't have the answer to that yet.
Heather's coming next month?
Yes,
You're not in charge of that, or are you?
As far as what?
The appointment and stuff?
I've done that.
Okay, so what if she came an hour before and sat in with us? I know she's a busy gal, but we could ask her about pellets and spraying to where our committee, if you're satisfied with you doing it, that's fine, so am I.
No, that's why I brought this up, John, is what I'm looking for from us today is just this exact kind of discussion right here. Again, my pushing us back to slow down really comes from, well, can we save some money here and do this chore ourselves and not get into this contract?
I think it's worth a try.
And I think it's maybe worth a try. I was hoping Scott would be able to give us some input, but he,
Out of the office right now. Status.
meaning not working today, or, okay, got it.
Well, we got time to talk to
Yep.
Scott, we got 30 days.
Yep.
Do you ever go down to Heather's office and talk to her?
No, I do have her cell phone number now, so I go get direct to her. I haven't had a problem
It's
since.
worth it visiting her down there and stuff, and, I'm going that way, but I don't wanna jump in front of you and stuff, but she's always willing to talk to you in her office.
Yeah, and once I've gotten her cell phone number, I've had no problem getting to her. She's on the 5th. I think that's a decent idea, to have her talk to us about some of that management question. Pellets doing a job ourselves, just spot treating, relatively speaking, small areas compared to the full surface of all the ponds. I do
Also,
know she's going to be on vacation.
I'll talk to Ron from the Lake Association, because we were gonna jump forward with spraying, and he was happy with that. They wrote a letter to us and yada, yada, yada. I can ask him what he thinks about this pellet thing.
Well, fine. I thought we should communicate with him that we're gonna go slow here and that we don't have a final decision about
These
spraying.
people or Ron?
I was gonna talk with Ron, and
If you wanna do it, that's fine.
if you wanna do it, that's fine.
Okay, where's the monkey? That's what we always said at the power plant. All right, where's the monkey? I'll talk to Ron.
All right. And essentially, I'd be letting him know right now that we're just going slow on this decision about, I think we're headed towards some sort of chemical treatment,
All right,
period. But maybe not spraying the whole ponds. Maybe
what about the back ponds?
if we can slip a boat into the front one so we can put it in the back one, then that's pretty easy. You know, one pass, you're gonna have enough spaces open.
Well, it isn't on the agenda as an item, it's just on there as reports from each. The agenda for parks is just reports from each, and all you gotta say is, we're still working on it,
Correct,
okay?
correct.
That's it. 10 words or less.
10. And you're gonna talk with Rademacher?
No, Ron
Oh,
Reminick,
Remick, okay.
R-I-E-M-I-E-N-E-C-K or something like that.
I got it in my minutes somewhere. I got a whole list of people I need to, I can always refer.
All right, yeah, we talk quite often on other stuff. We're in $250,000 worth of stuff, so.
No, I'm still heading, John, towards, as soon as snow is gone, as far as I'm concerned, there won't be much warm up of the water to have plant growth at that point. But I want to walk around with Ron, and if it's Ron and Brian, I'd like to have, the ideal, frankly, would be for us to declare a quorum without a meeting, so
You're
all of
30
us
days,
could be
you're
there.
30 days away because there's still ice on there.
Yeah. But my point is, I intend to do several walkarounds with that Lake Association expertise,
That's fine.
to be sure. And one of them's got to be early on discussing this very issue. And then once we get some growth, we're going to need their expertise.
Okay.
I don't know how they're going to feel about spot treatment versus something else.
I don't either.
Heather's response was, well, this is important for in terms of our committee considerations here. Heather's response to me as we discussed this on the phone was, she said 94 out of every 100 boats that gets launched into Lake Leelanau is not washed before it goes into Lake Leelanau. And that the idea that our ponds are a serious contributor to the milfoil problem, she thought was not as plausible, not as demanding of action as some other things. I think what we can do at Veronica, as important as spraying, is this signage program, getting the signage up, clean up your tackle. Don't let any vegetation from our ponds leave this property. So that's a direction I know I'll keep moving us, but I think our adding that communications link is going to be as important, really, to Lake Leelanau as however we treat the weeds. Well, let me hear it, because we got time here. What is our overall goal managing those ponds?
What has it been?
Or fish.
Yeah, Heather's perception of it has been that we want to maintain the ponds adequate for stocking for the kids' fish day, and hopefully get some year-round survival. It'd be nice to even get some of our own spawning going on in an effective way. But other than that, in terms of managed fishery, she didn't think we needed to, that we could achieve those other goals without a lot of input.
And basically, we're talking bluegills, huh?
Yes, hybrid bluegill. Now, we've got some bass that apparently have overwintered, but right now the whole stocking program, it's always been, I think, certainly since I've been on the commission, John, it's hybrid bluegill, but this Lagos Fish Farm treats us well. And they have thrown in a few other things when they could. And Heather, at least once since I've been on the commission, got an extra special deal from a state hatchery, and we actually got some spawned out, aged out, large brook trout.
Yes.
That lasted about 30 seconds.
Dave, what did you say, she wants to maintain fish day, or she felt the goal for managing the pond was to maintain fish for kids' fish day, and then you said like support neuron?
Year round.
Oh, year round.
Year round.
Okay. Year round.
Survival.
Okay, sorry.
And I think that's a fairly accurate description of what we're after.
Do the hybrid bluegills reproduce?
I know her answer is generally no, but there was some detail to that, which I don't quite remember.
Okay.
They can.
Yeah, well, I've gone around, gone over the bridge and gone to the left in that area in there. There were bluegills protecting the pond areas.
Yeah,
Breeding areas.
yeah. I've seen beds being protected over in the back lawn pond. Not many.
And this wasn't a lot, but it was there, so it was interesting.
Well, I just wanted to slow us down in terms of this salmon arrangement, because we may not need to do that. And I think we could do it possibly for less money, but I was hoping for Scott's input in terms of, well, yeah, we have access to a small aluminum boat that we can get in there. John?
Well, back here a couple of minutes, are you looking for a goal or a plan on these ponds? I'm not sure what was put in our management plan a couple of years ago, but we've got one of the prettiest pieces of property for recreation in this county, darn near 40 acres, and our goal should be to something like keep the ponds healthy, and that means for fishing, that could be a subtitle, and for gazing, not for swimming, but we don't want our shorelines deteriorated. We don't want brush growing over it, and Scott does a pretty good job doing that, but our pond should be maintained healthy for public enjoyment and for fishing, or fishing and public enjoyment. But fishing is a big one. Walking around them with hikers and stuff, you don't want to be looking at a mud hole and stuff, so we need to do that. We used to rake all that scum off at one time. We don't do that anymore. But we should maintain them so that they're healthy and not stagnant. If we all left
And Heather
tomorrow-
would say it's health for both the fish and the bug population around it.
Yeah, it-
With water. I mean,
we want to maintain these a nice, healthy ponds to support fishing and gazing. It's just like setting up we're planting bird trees, or whatever you call it. We want to make sure that we're doing that. And it might include getting rid of weeds. He said pondweed, milfoil, naiads, duckweed, watermeal that are present. Well, we need Heather's advice of whether she would want that all out of there, but that should be our goal, and we should be budgeting towards that. Scott does a real good job, I think, in keeping brush down. When we made that little walking island path around, we took a lot of crap trees out of there that was in the way. You don't want to take them all out because they overhang the pond, and
yeah.
kingfishers use it, and so do insects and bugs.
Well, John, I think you brought up a good point, and this is not something I've paid attention to, but this is part of that whole process of getting our capital CIP, is that what it's called?
Well, there's a capital improvement, but that's for investments.
Sure, but that's,
We have maintenance to maintain that park. We
Absolutely.
do stuff with trees, we replace, but we should have money every year to maintain these ponds.
yeah, and that should come in part from the direction given by the 5-year recreation plan, which is what we're headed towards expiring next year. So that's why Laurel suggested that each committee begin this process now. It amounts to matching what we're looking at the CIP and yearly budget level, how it matches our 5-year plan, because they don't match real well right now. So I'm just moving us towards cleaning that
Well, are you
up.
looking for a statement?
Well, I will be. I think you've got the point you've made the point. We need a plan, a stated management plan for the pond parts of Veronica Valley. And I don't think we have that in the 5-year plan, so I'll look at that and see. But that's kind of the source of my question, is this broad plan, broad goal.
It can be a goal with a little bit of objectives underneath it. Anyway, that should be it. Fishing isn't the only thing, but it's a big thing. That's all I want to say. We should be thinking of words for that, I guess.
Yeah,
Okay.
but I like your point, and I'm going to look into thanks to Laurel's organization, I've got the 5-year management plan at my fingertips. So I'll dig into that and push us along in that direction because I don't think we have that, an overall statement of the pond management portion of the park.
He covers algae control, which I said we used to scum off it, but we can look at algae and treatments and stuff.
We have the manual razor rake and gathering rake tools set for being able to pitch this thing out from shoreline, pull it in. But that comes back to who? Who does it? And I've been saying we got to have a volunteer group. I haven't done anything. I don't know how to do that. I haven't figured out how to bring that together. But I can move on actually from that point. I can segue into the update here on the spring tree planting. We agreed that Tom Adams, we could let Tom Adams go with lining up the order. How many trees we need. It's approximately 60. And this is to replace a lot of what's been planted, but with better fencing system. I mean, we've improved that. Tom has done this work. Well, he called me since our last meeting, has the order list ready for the spring seedling delivery. I don't remember the cost off the top of my head that we approved. But
So it's on its way.
so it's on its way.
Thank you.
And the thing, the 1st of May, he's gonna need a few volunteers, so that he's not planting 60 trees by himself, but so we can, break that up. Kama Ross has experience with, I'm gonna pull on her a little bit to help me with lining up some volunteers. I did find my list that I started to compile of a few from a couple years ago, people I could contact. But we're gonna need that. Yeah,
I think I worked before last year, but we put them in.
yeah, and those, I think only one of those survived.
What kind of trees were they?
Those were serviceberry spring shrubs. Most of these 60 trees will go inside either of the two fenced corrals, which again, that fencing's been improved to do a better job against rabbits. Tom believes he has maybe up to 9 sets of the heavier duty hardware cloth fencing structure that we've put in some other places he has, and he's used to improve those corrals. But most of it's going to be within the corrals, and then up to 9 separate individual plants out somewhere else. But that's a 1st of May event, something that's got to happen to get some people there to help plant. Parking lot design. I think we're done right now with my updating you on what we're doing with ponds and trees.
Want to discuss this?
Yeah, again, I was hoping Scott would be here.
All right, Scott? Yeah.
Yeah, only because he's the first person that ever said to me, that may be what's in the packet too, said we ought to make our parking lot smaller, was Scott. And it comes from his plowing and his maintenance. So I know he's had specific thoughts. Well, we're getting to that point. We got to nail this down, this overall plan for a parking lot, because as we discussed a month ago in that discussion, doing this depends on this, depends on this, depends on this, depends on parking lot. I like this. Now, John Popo, you pointed out the nice, beautiful curbing way would be very expensive. But that can be done in angles, straight lines.
I like this, which is A or B.
Oh, he handed out a new one.
Oh, I've got A, B, and C, so,
You see the one that looks like a popa? PP?
no, I don't
I've
have
got
one.
copies of it, John, extra copy, a lot of
Oh,
copies
it's
of it.
the very last page.
Okay, A,
It wasn't labeled in the letter.
Oh, I see.
Okay, this is D.
oh, here it is, it's behind the other quote, got it, okay.
Yep.
So that one is what?
But
Put D on it if you want.
Okay. And that's the one you like, Dave?
yeah, the reason is Scott's saying, let's make it smaller. Okay, we've cut down a pretty good chunk of the existing parking lot space, allowing there for 18 parking spaces. I guess it's 19 overall, but a couple of them at least will be committed to disabled parking. It gives us, John Walter, you've said this, and you've designed parking lots. The last thing you want to do is design confusion into a parking lot. And this option D has all of the traffic, the normal flow of traffic, just users of the park coming in their individual cars, going immediately over into those parking spaces along the left, nothing up the middle or on the right. But it does provide this big radius for the school bus turnaround, which we do want to support, providing that kind of space. And then I think both the porta potties and the trash line up naturally up in that corner. Um, Thoughts?
From a safety standpoint, there were 4 other designs, A, B, C, D, and the intent there was to consolidate and make it as efficient as possible. I asked Scott, how many cars should we design for? I don't know. I mean, I go there fairly often, and I will see up to 5 cars. But Scott said, oh, I've never seen more than 15. So that was kind of the basis to approach it. And though the previous plans, the emphasis was to minimize the space. Minimize the space we would have to plow, grade, and someday potentially pave. But it wasn't set up for maximizing safety. So in every case previous to this, kids had to cross a traffic lane. In this plan, children or anybody does not pass a vehicular traffic lane. And I think that that's probably the most important aspect of it. It doesn't reduce the size as much as the other plans. See, the parking lot right now will support 55 cars, and Scott thinks we don't need more than 15. So,
I would have to talk in here.
pardon?
Talk into the microphone.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. You know, the parking lot, the gravel area will support 55 cars parking. But it's not safe, and it's without marked parking lanes if it's gravel. So this shows 18 parking spaces that do not, the occupants, kids taking fishing pool out of the trunk, running around as I watch them, don't have to go past a car or a car go past them. And the drawings I did before for the turning radius for a school bus, I had them at 73 feet, and they really need to be 86 feet. So it shows a 43-foot turning radius. And buses always go counterclockwise because they drop off on the opposite side. So that's just the basis of it.
What do you think, John Popa?
Well, probably aren't gonna like it. I've looked at these plans now for a couple of years, and John is doing an excellent job. I like the last one. This bid is 2 years old, and you're gonna be close to $80,000, I think. And if this was me, and I'm taking the money out of my account, I wouldn't do anything. I'd rather see some money spent in a pavilion, because we can't be spending $100,000 on Veronica and nothing on these other parks. I would think a pavilion is our number one thing, and keep a gravel parking lot for a while.
Yeah,
If we think we got a lot of money, this is that last design, I would keep that, and I would keep it and just show that we reviewed all these others. But right now, parking is not a problem. I go by it quite often, and I'm sure, John, you've seen it before, where contractors get off the road there, and you'll see the tree moving things.
Yeah.
You'll see if the utility companies are replacing a pole and transformers. You'll see the digger there, the bucket truck there, 2 trucks, and they're having their lunch there instead of alongside the road, which,
Going to the bathroom.
and they use the bathroom. And that's fine, and they park up that edge. Scott has a concern over keeping it all plowed, and it's time consuming. This would be a lot of plowing too, except you'd have lawn on that one side. I just don't think it's a high priority right now.
I would agree, except for the one point we got to in last month's discussion, and that is, apparently, this is what I missed in June, budget discussion, when I was out west. We have, in a proposed budget for the parks for this year, some work on upgrading the porta potties.
That's gotta be done. We can still do that.
Yeah, and that's the point. The only thing I'm looking for in approving this idea here is not the final part of it. It's the general plan so that we can decide then where are the porta potties gonna be? What's the upgrade gonna be? That's the only concrete thing I see coming, no pun intended.
You're right.
out of
We
this, right?
need to concentrate on these porta potties with a nice screen and make it look clean and professional and for wheelchairs. And I think the next budget is, we gotta do something about a pavilion.
I'd like to change, I agree. I'd like to change the name, however, to picnic enclosure.
Whatever.
Just a thought, try to look back, because I've already pulled my stuff from last year. I was going to look up the executive committee meeting where it was hammered out what would be brought before the board for approval. And I thought parking lot improvement was one of those items. My thought is, if you like these so much, is it possible to just do an improved version without paving? Just make it gravel for now?
Well, yeah, personally, I think there's room to do some of that step by step improvement. Again, my goal today, and I think this will take an action on the part of committee, so it becomes official committee work, that we recommend to full Parks and Rec that this be the plan that we're heading ultimately towards, so that we can do these other things based on this idea, that we're not going to go with this here and put the porta potties up here and then change the whole parking lot plan down the future and they should be someplace else.
There's no clock ticking on this.
No.
We need Scott's input too.
That's correct.
I thought of the same thing that she did, is that, should we plant grass there? Should we put those movable barriers and stuff? I don't know, it's stuff you could do, grade it right and all that kind of stuff.
From a seasonal perspective, in park use, it would be better to consider grass planting sometime in the fall because grass does grow well.
Oh, yeah.
Say September, and the park use might be down to the extent that you wouldn't have to worry about people trotting all over newly planted grass.
Well, oddly enough, I didn't design this plan, didn't design the other five, but it was actually Scott's input that this came. We had a meeting and we got down to safety, and how can we make this safe, so, this is how,
Well, you could make a statement on that, Dave, again, in a few words or less, and said, we're not pushing for it in immediate future, and we've looked over some plans and we're zeroing in on some final ones and just leave it at that.
Yeah, because it really comes from recognizing some of these other intermediate steps depend on what's the parking lot going to look like. So I'm only seeking that we as a committee come to a decision that yes, this basic plan here, basic shape, makes a lot of sense for Veronica, and that's what we're going to head towards. But that's really, as far as like the CIP, maybe that's 5 years down the road.
Yeah, I wouldn't bother the whole board with it, just say, we're looking at that.
Well, okay, check me out on this. The only reason I'm pushing it this way is because I think that decision that this is the plan that we can put in a plan book, and that this is what we're headed towards, and another iteration of this Parks and Rec Commission won't likely be changing it because we've gone through this planning stage with this shape. I I think that's going to take approval by the full Parks and Rec Commission, that we pass on that recommendation that this is our fundamental, not the final detail, and not even a time frame on it.
When does that plan have to be submitted?
Well, you're kind of in the planning stages, so if you just want to report to the full Parks Commission today, then they're in the loop. We haven't really gone out for bids or anything, we don't have an estimate of what it would cost.
We haven't even decided on steps.
Right. So at this point, you're just letting them know, we're bringing you up to speed, this is the configuration or design of the parking lot that
Are leaning towards.
we proposing.
And that at some point, we will be coming to them with a firm recommendation that this be adopted. But this is just the current status of the work we're doing right now. Okay, we're good to go. Laurel, do you know more about, because I was hoping Steve would be here. He didn't contact me till this morning, but we are budgeted this year for some parts of this porta potty upgrade.
I believe so, according to Steve.
Well, we'll see the report, we'll see the financial thing here in an hour or so, and
That's what I heard.
it'll let us know. I suppose after this meeting, we could look at it and see how much was put in there. I don't know if there was a Veronica Valley bullet all by itself or not, but we'll take a peek at it.
No, it's an overall parks budget.
Okay.
And so this sort of thing would have to be under capital improvement. I mean, that's the line it would come under. I just don't know that detail, and that surprised me last week. Steve and I have talked about several other things, and I have failed to ask him to bring me up to speed on that. But that then brings us to this point, because now we are getting towards things we want to get done this year. What do we mean by improvement of our porta potty? I'd like to see them on a cement pad.
Yes, we talked about it, cement pad, and you had a couple ideas, and cement pads with barriers in front, and something where a truck can go around and you can pump it out. And we were talking about porta potties that are big. I don't know if our present porta potties are big.
A UA.
Pardon me?
A UA porta potty?
And I don't think we have one there yet. No.
And that was part of it. And if we say, yeah, we want to pursue that this year, then we start going and drawing up sticks and plans and laying concrete. Location. Restrooms running.
So we'll take a brief recess. 2:13.
So then, John, the question is, when we can be official again? What's then the next step? Because I'm now aiming, okay, we're going to get this general plan accepted. Therefore, we can start working on porta potty improvement. But if we do decide to make these straight lines,
This is not expensive. There's no cost to that. This is a gravel parking lot.
it's a what you do.
This is great.
This is,
They're not expensive.
well, I like it then.
Yeah, I do too. It's natural. It's what the natural rate is that the bus takes.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
And it kind of has an organic feel to it, as
What?
opposed
I'm sorry?
It has somewhat of an organic feel to
Yes.
it, rather than, reminiscent of Frank Lloyd Wright, he was incorporating things within nature.
Sure.
And I think that if there were one sign that says no parking, bus turnaround, that you would sense that curve.
Yeah. I think that's true too.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would make this add to the clarity of what this space is there for. Well, okay, then we'll. But we need to make then final decisions based on this as to exactly where some of that's going to go, especially if we're going to pour concrete, obviously.
You might want
And
to
that would-
consider a park visit. Last year we only had there were two. Old Settlers and Miles did meet on site and tour the park, and for some people, they'd never been there before, so it was kind of nice. So it'd be good to set up a meeting once the snow's gone to do a tour of the park and incorporate that into your yearly rotation.
Let's consider that for late April. And maybe consider doing April's monthly work, just all of us staying on top of a few things, not have to have a separate meeting and then have this. So that's a public announcement that there will be a quorum, but there will be no actual business. I've had to do this once.
Or you could set it up as a meeting date where you break it up and you tour the park, you take notes, and then we finish the meeting here. But we have to post it at the park, and we post it here, so that everyone's aware that the meeting is taking place off-site and finishing.
And the thing is, I don't want to, I'm thinking of two different times that an actual meeting, a walk around would help. One would be, including walking around the pond, some broader discussion. And I'd really like to keep this discussion going for porta potty. So we can have a meeting just, can we announce that we're having a gathering of a quorum at the park, but there will be no action taken and
The whole thing with the Open Meetings Act is, bottom line, we're working towards rendering a decision. In some respects, you are by touring the park. When we worked on this with Miles Kimberly, we had a video that we recorded, and we were going to eventually meet back here, but then one of the committee members said he had a commitment and he couldn't meet, so then we had to stop the meeting, and we couldn't come back here to finish it. It was kind of a mess, but it's not like you do this for every meeting.
no. And I must.
It's really not too far away.
You mean getting there? Correct. Yeah. No, I'm simply trying to keep numbers of meetings and times we have to commit to come up here and down, the minimum.
What's it called? Come out of recess. What's the term?
I'm still going to head towards.
What's the term when you come out of recess?
I'll bring it up as soon as John's.
Are we all set?
All set.
Too bad.
I think we're done with the phone. Okay. So we're done with the parking lot design. There was one.
Well, except that, we're done with you've helped me confirm the general process I'm pushing us towards, which is to get this accepted as the master plan. But the real concrete work for this year, possibly, is this begin the porta potty upgrade. So, John Popa, in some discussion here, well, to both Johns, I propose an April meeting of our committee at the park, and Scott needs to be at that one, because we will set it up so that the darn meeting finishes here. We'll all have to go there late April. I mean, I won't plan it before that.
It's supposed to rain that day.
That's good, John. Yeah.
We'll gather our cars and point out the window, and then we'll come back here and finish the dang meeting officially. But I want to make some decisions, some concrete decisions with Scott there about where the cement pad's going to be. That means, okay, our screening walls eventually are going to be here, but I guess I'm pushing towards, let's get the concrete poured, you know. We can't do much of an upgrade till we get that step done, and then we can continue on from there.
Yeah, I appreciate Scott's input because he's there and he sees the traffic that's there more than I am.
I think we cut down the size here enough that I don't see any other struggle with this basic design. But so sometime later in April, for next committee meeting, weather permitting, though it has to be really lousy. I mean, come on.
It snowed in May last year.
Oh, well, no, I can understand that. I remember.
What we could do is we could set some tentative dates for here. And then that way it's reserved. And then when we get closer to the end of April, at least a week in advance, finalize that date. And then we can remove all the other dates that we, like maybe 2 or 3 dates on the calendar. You know?
We'll work on that real closely because I'm going to be gone the 13th to the 20th of April. So I want to have that work all done.
John and I could meet with Scott out there without having a meeting out there. It's not a quorum.
But the whole point of meeting there is so that everybody's on the same page and sees the park and observes the proposed improvements.
True, but we can bring that back to the,
I realize that, but the one thing I learned when we did this for Miles last year was men have a tendency to just see everything, absorb it, and immediately know what path they want to go down. Does that make sense? Because every single person on that committee, they were all men, it was just like, you lit a fire under them, and they're like, oh, this would go right here, and this would go right there. So it's good to have that commonality going into a meeting.
we can't put all those words in a minute.
No, she doesn't.
There's a couple words.
Well, and again, I'm headed towards some official recognition that this is our general master plan.
Motion?
Pardon me?
Do we need to make a motion?
Not right now.
Okay.
No, that's the point, is I'm trying to get all these steps organized.
All right.
You want a consensus of diagram D? It's not really a formal vote, but you're in concurrence that you prefer diagram D.
Yeah, let's show that as action, without objection here from either John. Let's show that as action of this committee today, that we have a consensus that our master plan should be, relatively speaking, option D. Okay.
Is that a D or B?
D.
D.
Dog.
Okay, dog. Delta. Alpha delta. Beta. Okay.
Now, so that's a scheduling issue. I think we've taken actions that we might need to take before the April Board of Commissioners meeting, because if we've
The meeting scheduled for the full board of commissioners or the clerk's commission?
Well, I'm dealing with several things in my head. One is, well, what if we do decide to contract with Savin? We need to have that action taken at the Board of Commissioners April meeting.
The board of commissioners schedule is April 11th and April 18th.
Wow.
Did you want to talk to Paul Barber and see if that would be an issue for him? Is April 15th a draft day?
Yeah, I'm sure it's not. Let me do that. Because I want to push that action back yet, so,
Paul Harbour?
He owns 7 lake services.
Oh, okay.
Oh, it's over here, that's why. No, it's this one. So the 5th is 7 days later, it'd be the 12th. 7 days later, it'd be, so the 18th of April. Wow.
He's probably used to working with government entities.
Well, that means,
What are you thinking, Dave? What are we waiting?
well, I'm trying to just think, I'm thinking about having us all knock our heads together on this placement of porta potties.
Right,
And,
the morning of our next meeting. Is that what you're saying?
well, that's what I'm considering, but given 7's deadline and the next Board of Commissioners meeting, I do think we should have this gathering of our brainpower at Veronica earlier in April. So
Well,
that-
you're the chair, you pick a date like you normally do for a meeting, and we'll see where it fits in.
And you'll now have several backup dates scheduled for this room.
We can, after the meeting, we can determine target dates.
Okay. Excellent.
Now, what if you've got a big snowstorm and you got 3 feet of snow? What are you gonna do? Just being devil's advocate.
Well,
You're the chair, you do like you normally do when you want to have a little,
you know, I've learned, I've heard this before, but I've learned it in this job. The bureaucracies are very tolerant of delay. And this will get delayed. 7, we aren't gonna be able to make any decisions by that point anyway. If it's still that cold, we've got no growth in the water.
and you don't have to schedule a room, you can just say, hey, John, are you available on this date and that date and that date, and we can meet out there with Scott.
Yeah, but we do have to finish it up here that day.
I don't know about that.
John, it would have to be a posted meeting.
It has to what?
It has to be a posted meeting because it'll be subject to the Open Meetings Act,
Right? So we post it,
right?
but we don't have to go to a building and say amen.
When we did this last year, we did it verbally, on site, went through the tour, and then we were eventually gonna end up here to finish the meeting. But it was posted on each site. We have to make sure we comply with the OMA.
What if you didn't post it here?
We don't want to be in violation of the OMA.
We've had meetings off-site, like we went to North Manitou Island and we have a meeting and we go there and we have it and we come back and we don't go back to the road commission
And
and
you're talking about the road commission.
it's still public.
I realize that, but we follow certain rules here, maybe differently than what they do there, but when it comes to posting a meeting for something like this, we'll post it here, because this is the primary location that we hold parks meetings. We will post it on site at Veronica Valley, and we will be following the meeting agenda.
Whatever. Pick the day that you want or the time that you want and do it. But
Well, this has helped. Here's how it's gonna go. I'm gonna pick a committee meeting before early April. We have, April 5th is our next full Parks and Rec meeting, so I'm gonna I'll squeeze it in there. Don may have already captured the hour before, like today. That may not be available. But that'll be a short one to bring ourselves up to date on what we're doing with weed management, and that'll depend on my talk with Scott, since he's not here today, we're gonna have to have some serious discussion there. But then I can bring that back April 5th, so that if we need to get a recommendation, fresh one out of the full Parks and Rec for Savin contract before April 15th or 18th, we can get it done there. And therefore, a meeting to determine some details about porta potty placement is gonna happen early in May.
Okay.
And then we'll know the snow will be gone, well, knock on wood.
You're gonna wait for May now to have this meeting?
To have,
A porta potty meeting?
yeah. Is that okay?
Why put it off?
Well, to get the snow off the ground,
You can go out there right now and look and see where you wanna put porta potties.
in any really.
We have a tendency to just keep putting things off and to go out and look where to put porta potties 2 months from now is a waste of time.
I think we've done quite a bit in the last couple of years.
Because if we gotta go out for bids and come up with designs and spend the money this year, that takes another 3 months. So anytime between now and the first part of April, pick a date. If you wanna reserve this room that date or the side room or whatever
Yeah,
room you want.
whatever, I'll work that out.
And
I hear you, John, so that's what I'm gonna do. We're gonna
You
head
pick it
towards
out.
earlier in April, regardless of the
Or
weather,
March.
regardless okay.
you're leaving what? You're not coming back till the 20th?
Yeah, I leave the 13th to the 20th of April.
So you got any time, you got that whole last week in March, second last week, do it when you can, Dave, but let's just do it.
If you're comfortable with.
Do it
okay.
tomorrow.
So you will be working towards the recommendations to the full Parks Commission. Right?
We're gonna be recommending the specifics about a location for the porta potty.
Well, you don't want to just do this piecemeal. You're gonna come up with a plan, present it to the Parks Commission. So if you're just gonna do this piecemeal and start out with figuring out where the location is, that's fine. But then they're gonna wanna know specifics, how much it's gonna cost, and am I out of line in saying that something this small could just be done with quotes? Because you're just pouring a pad? Is that what you're doing?
We haven't decided, but I think one of the things, Laura, was a pad with some nice pretty womanized barriers up there or something, I don't know. And this pad can't interfere when we're gonna build a pavilion, or whatever you call it, the park bench thing. But pick a site and the size, shouldn't take that long, and when we get our 2 cents together as to the location and the size, we present it to the board.
But I
All we
see
gotta do
Laurel's,
is meet as a group and look at it.
but I see Laurel's point is that we need to make a recommendation to the full Parks and Rec Commission that they accept. It's not that we have to take it beyond that at this point, but that this become the general plan for the parking lot. So that I can do in April.
Okay, that wasn't even on the agenda.
So what we discussed today with the diagram, is it your intent that I just run out extra copies for them to review today's meeting? So they can see where you're going? And then further, a more formal idea will be forthcoming?
Yeah, I can do that. I mean, although, will it get us? I don't know, do you think that's the proper way to go?
Yes.
Even though you're a committee, you are a portion of the entire commission. So if you have information so they can see which way you're going, it seems like one of the things that I hear a lot from former board commissioners is, well, we weren't in the loop on this. So you have the opportunity to say, this is where we're going,
Okay.
more details are forthcoming, they're in the loop.
Okay.
Because you don't have any cost estimates or anything.
Oh, no, not,
And the
no.
parking lot is just a main component of the entire project that you're looking towards.
Yeah. So your immediate question was, do we need more copies for the upcoming meeting? Yeah, so we do.
I think I've got it.
And
I got, let's see, that was two.
so, to wrap this up, John, probably, maybe you're right. The two of you and Scott do some of this on the ground. Look, so we avoid this calling a meeting, the scheduling issue. But your three heads do some preliminary work on where the toilets specifically would be. And that means actually measuring out some things, I mean, in terms of location there.
John and I met a couple times on the culvert, parking lot design, new driveway entrance. We did all that without a big committee. We just came back to here and reported what we got, and everybody agreed to
And
it.
that's what we're gonna head, towards in terms of that decision heading into April. So we keep it going.
That's what we'll do then.
Yeah.
You gonna bring the sandwiches, John? Yeah,
I'm here I'm here to listen, so I can do anything.
who's gonna bring sandwiches?
Sandwich, you gotta bring the drinks.
Okay,
Okay, and part of my effort here is to keep our meetings minimal. I mean, so we're not ending up doing 2 or 3 a month in order to get certain things done. So we'll watch the weather. I'll count on the two of you and Scott doing some initial work. I'll schedule a regular committee meeting, not on site, but right here for April.
I could come in and talk to Scott, couldn't I? Here. I'll do that. I appreciate his input.
Yeah, anything, yeah,
Good, I can do that. I will do that.
and that'd be a good step of getting that,
Right.
the three of you out there. Okay. Well, I plan us to be done about now. I'm comfortable with what we've discussed from the agenda and the steps that I'm gonna take coming out of that.
So you want to set up a meeting prior to the start of the regular session in April, is that what you mean?
Prior to April 5th, yeah.
Prior to April 5th or prior to the April 5th meeting?
Prior to the April 5th meeting.
So the same day earlier.
That's what, if it's still available. Don may have grabbed it already. And that includes, I will talk to Heather about her possibly joining that April 5th committee meeting before the full commission that she's going to be attending anyway, with the fish plan for the stocking. But have her talk to us some about this idea that we can manage the weeds ourselves, that we don't need necessarily to go with a larger contractor, that there is this spot treatment possibility. So I'll see if I can get her here on that April 5th meeting. And then I'll just stay in touch with the three of you to get your communications going with Scott about some final decisions, recommended final decisions on porta potty placement. Okay?
I'll meet with Scott for that and get his input.
And I'll get with Kama about how do we bring in a bunch of volunteer tree planters for May. I'll entertain a motion, public comment. Hi, Don. Any other comment from any of us?
No.
John?
This isn't a discussion item, but I would like a statement to be made of where we are on getting the beaver out, and I don't have any other comments.
Okay. I have no beaver update, but I hear you.
Okay. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I second.
There's been a motion to adjourn. All in favor? Aye. We are adjourned.
I'll get the documentation.
John Pope, I do know that Scott got in there and tore open some of the upper dam.
Did he?
Yeah.
I think did he talk to Don Clark
Yes.
then and stuff?
Yeah. But I have not heard from Don Clark or sought him out myself to find out what kind of success he's had.
John, I didn't bring the Veronica book, but I swear